content of this channel is for mature audiences. Parental discretion is advised. You're tuned in to the Green Gorilla channel. Please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell notification button. And please, feel free to share the video. Thank you.
What's good, everybody? What's cracking with y'all, man? I'm GG, man. You tuned in to the Green Gorilla channel. It is the place where black men can express themselves freely, straight up with no chasers, man. Before I get things started, I want to give a shout out to all the haters out there. How y'all doing? Hope y'all having a good afternoon. When you meander in, if you can, please hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell notification button so you can stay abreast of what's going on here on the Green Gorilla channel. And like I always do before I get started, I want to give a shout out to each and every one of the members of the Green Gorilla channel on YouTube and on Patreon, and then get started with what, the main topic is. So, shout out to Passport OG, Brotherly Love, Divine Love Ridge, Ismail Samad, The Watcher, Barnolas, Hostile Adept, and the Cold-Hearted Revelator. Big up to y'all. Big up to Lee Ways, Black Men Being Brutally Honest, Lord Hamal, Kill the Game, Dr. Thunder, BGS Ibmore, Jason Hales, Charles Finney, Interesting Thought, and Bimrock. Big up to y'all. Big up to Black Swerve 404, Until I'm Not, Apex Prowler, Naomi Gary, J. Cleveland Green, The Toxic Masculinist, Pulpit 28, No Sleep, Broken Blade, and Mr. King. Big up. Big up Larry R, Seth Son, Afro Truth TV, Show Me, Spain Man, Seventh Coast Dojo, Anthony Davis, I'm Just Jules, An Honest Look, and Sherlyn Woe. Big up. Big up to Ricky Dawson, Stefan, Julius Ferguson, True 7360, Mr. Me Too, Call for President, Gold Professor, AKs and Curtains, and H-Town. Big up. Shout out to Rogish the Billmonger, Adrian Thomas, Electrician 480, Binga, Cutting Up with the Jones, Zanco 1, D Scott, Path Guy 74, Pete Rock 496, and Aaron Peters. Big up to y'all. Big up to Vincent Lindsay, Quiz the Poet, Black Wizard ADOS, Jazz Tech, Shadow Observer, Artisan MC, Troy Warren, Mrs. KP Bailey, Alan Wiley in the Face. Big up. Big up to the Life of Commerce, AI Apostle, Timothy Blewett, Jeffrey Speed, Marvin Battle Jr., Adam, Ignatz Mouse, Brian Peace, and Black Uru. Big up to y'all, man. Big up to Dr. Tree 33, 77 Base X, Brian McMurray, Karen S., Charles Rogers, Rick Ross, Sandra Jean, Charles Gilmore, Greg, and Barry Little. Big up. Big up to Mr. Valentino, Cameron 87, Dr. Rock, Mark Swift, Odd Collar, Donald Watts, Coach Hotep, Old Soul Chief, and Mr. Blue Collar. Big up. Big up to TD Hip Hop Media, Drew Main, Mr. Heat, Sir Anthony, MLR, Universal 178, Rasheed Barnes, Aaron Smith, DH, A-Double, Dr. Tiasan Johnson, Kalanja Kala, and W. Apparel 1, man. Also can't forget David Carroll, Force Windu, and Kevin Samuels. Big up to all of those people, man. And on the Patreon side, I want to give a shout out to Robert Wicks, J.E.K., Chris Flowers, Christopher Burton, Daxby, J Live, Rashawn Phillips Surles, Keith Bass Jr., Nick, Albert C., Dr. Ben Vincent, I'm the Light of My Father, Waffle Weave, Darnell Smith, Excalibur, Preserve Prisoner, Taz, Dragon 59, Jay Bailey, Mr. Michi, Momal, and the Same. Well, big up to all y'all, man. Thank you so much for your ongoing support. You deserve a round of applause. Thank you so much for supporting the Green Gorilla channel on an ongoing basis. I appreciate it, man. Sincerely, for real support is hard to come by, and I thank you for yours, man. I appreciate that. So having said all that, man, I want to go to a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we'll start on what's going on with the show, man. I'll be right back. Introducing Ion Fast, the revolutionary fat burner that's changing the game in weight management. Say goodbye to slow progress and hello to a powerful, natural solution to support your weight loss journey. Ion Fast potential formula combines caffeine anhydrous for energy and focus, Hoodia extract for appetite suppression, and dandelion extract for antioxidant and diuretic benefits. Together, these ingredients work synergistically to boost thermogenesis, increase metabolism, and to control your cravings. Are you ready to take your weight loss goals to the next level? Discover Ion Fast today. Visit www.ionfast.com to learn more and start your journey to a healthier and fitter you. Always consult a healthcare professional before trying any new supplement. All right, yeah, man. The show today is being sponsored again by Ion Fast, man. If you want information on Ion Fast, go to ionfast.com and pick up a supplement, man. It's a fat burner. I haven't tried it just yet, but they're sponsoring the show today. So having said all that, man, I want to talk about Eboni and Steve Harvey, okay? Steve Harvey is a frat brother of mine, man. I admire his hustle. I admire his accomplishments. I admire, his comedic work, his television work over the course of the past 25 years or so, or even more. But, as far as I'm concerned, Steve Harvey just has an antiquated and an outdated means of perceiving the world, man, and trying to have some insight as to what's actually going on between men and women contemporarily, man. Steve Harvey, man, you got to get a clue, bro. You're out of touch, bro. You're out of time right now. And I'll explain that later. Everybody knows what he said, man. I mean, for the most part, he was like, it's man's job to go out and get the money and to take care of women, man. And to ask that women come to the table with something is to ask for too much, because men don't ask from anything or for anything from women. At least that's what he says. I mean, his whole opinion is that, men go out and get it. And they go out and get it for the sake of women. And it's their job to take care of, to provide for, and to, hand out resources and provisions and so on and so forth to women. And it's not the job of women to be in the business of doing anything for men, especially numerically or financially, monetarily. No, that's the role reversal right there for Steve Harvey. And so, he thinks that men should not be demanding that women have anything to bring to the table. Right? But then this just sets up a conflicting message. I thought women demanded that they be part of the workforce. I thought that they demanded that they be part of the workforce. Look, first of all, let me leave an invite for people if later on they want to come into this and talk about it and have a discussion themselves. Okay? I'm just leaving it out there. Okay? But let's just be factual about it right now, okay? Let's just be factual about this. Before I even get into talking about men and women and dating and mating and relationships and who's supposed to give what and how and all of that, let's just look at the job market in and of itself. Because the job market in and of itself is a limited landscape. It's limited. So let's explore job openings and admissions in professional schools. Since a person like Eboni K Williams is going to be, making the case that increasingly women, but in particular black women, are upwardly mobile insofar as they're getting jobs in corporate America, and they're starting their own businesses, and they're being admitted to professional schools. So they're getting MBAs, JDs, and PhDs. But let's just face it, it's a competitive world out there. Securing a job or gaining admission to a professional school is a challenging process. It's challenging, bro. Now, despite the increasing number of graduates and job seekers, the availability of positions and openings in professional schools is limited, man. It's limited. It's not an endless amount of jobs out there. All you got to do is just go out there and apply yourself and you'll just get it. It's competitive. And so I want to delve into the reasons behind why the job market is a limited landscape and the implications that it has for the job market and higher education in general. Now, the first thing you got to look at are the factors that contribute to limited job openings. And I'm not going to even talk about race at the moment or gender. I'm just talking about people competing for jobs as people, human, qua human. Not even introducing any other factors. The first thing that you have to do is you have to look at economic conditions. That's the first thing you have to look at. The overall economic health of a country. So we're talking about macroeconomics. Macroeconomics are going to play a significant role in determining the number of job openings available to begin with. So if there are periods of economic downturn or there are recessions or, like things are moving on a downward tick in that domain, companies might reduce or may reduce hiring or even lay off employees, which is going to limit the number of job opportunities even more. Okay. Now we're seeing that now. We're seeing that things are getting to the point where companies are laying people off. We're not in an economic upturn right now. Okay. So that's the first thing. You got to look at the economic conditions. The first thing. The second thing is you have to look at industry trends. As industries evolve, the demand for specific skill sets and jobs are going to fluctuate. Like take, for example, right now, you have the rise of automation in businesses and industries everywhere. And artificial intelligence has led to a reduced demand for certain manual labor jobs, even call-in centers and things of this nature, but increasing the need for skilled professionals in technology and data analysis. So industry trends can have an impact on the job market. Then you got demographic shifts that take place. So an aging population can also contribute to limited job openings. As older workers, and we're still in a baby boomer economy. Not to say that it's not moving out and transitioning, because it is, and Generation X is beginning to replace the baby boomer generation. But there's still boomers out there who haven't retired yet. And their delayed retirement is such that they occupy positions that would otherwise be available to younger job seekers. Not only that, you have to worry about market saturation. In some sectors, the number of job seekers is going to exceed the available job openings. Now, we haven't even begun to factor in gender or race into the equation at the current moment. We're just talking about the job market in general. So in some sectors, you have more job seekers than you have job openings, which is going to lead to intense competition and limited opportunities in those domains. And this is especially true for popular industries and professions with a high number of aspiring candidates, like law, for instance. Like law. Then let's talk about that right now. Okay, so let's make the transition. You also have to factor in what contributes to limited openings in professional schools, since we're talking about professional schools and things of this nature, right? The first thing you have to look at when you're talking about professional schools is resource constraints. Okay? The capacity of professional schools is limited by factors like how much funding are the professional schools receiving, what's the infrastructure of their departments or their schools, and how many available faculty do they have? How? So as a result, these schools might only be able to accommodate a few students or a certain amount or number of students each year, which leads to limited admission slots. So it's not like an endless amount of people can just apply to law school and get in, or medical school, or a graduate program at a university. There are resource constraints. Then not only that, you're dealing with selectivity amongst these institutions, right? So many professional schools, especially those schools that have so-called quote unquote prestigious reputations, they have admission standards that are ridiculously high, okay, and selective in order to maintain their quote unquote pedigree and their standing. This is also going to lead to limited openings for people who are applying. Then not only that, there are some programs in professional schools that are subjected to regulations that limit the number of students they can admit. For example, a medical school has to adhere to guidelines of accreditation that dictate the sizes of the classes that they have, and it's all based on student to faculty ratios. You can't have more students than a certain amount of faculty members. Otherwise, those students don't get the kind of pedagogy or the kind of attention that's requisite to people who are going to become future lifesavers and health preservers in the country. Okay, so it's limited, okay? Also, you got to understand there's increased competition, man. If you got limited job openings and you have limited admission slots into professional schools, you got competition among both job seekers and applicants to these schools. The competition has intensified. And what this does is it translates into pressure, increased pressure on individuals to be able to separate themselves one apart from the other. And true indeed, and shout out to T. Crawford, man. Appreciate you, brother. I appreciate that donation, man. So I haven't even begun to talk about gender or race. But you have skills gap as well. As industries evolve and the demand for specific sets of skills increases, the limited availability of jobs and professional school openings may contribute to a growing skills gap. So this can lead to a mismatch between the qualifications and abilities of job seekers and the requirements of employers. Then you got access and inequality. You got limited job openings and admissions in professional schools, which can exacerbate existing inequalities in society. And those kids who have access to resources, connections, like Ivy Leaguers and such, and opportunities, they are better positioned to secure jobs and to gain admission to these schools. Whereas others might face barriers to their entry. So there are a whole bunch of reasons why there's a limited landscape of job openings and admissions in professional schools throughout this country. Now, I'm not saying that you can't get a good job or that you can't be admitted to a professional school, but let's just face it. Most persons in this country don't have corporate jobs, nor are they been admitted to and have matriculated through professional schools, bro. It's competitive as hell. It's like playing musical chairs. Not everybody is going to be able to have a seat. These are just the facts. Now we can get into a conversation about gender. Because as we all know, let's just be honest about this. A lot of people don't like it, but it is the case. It is the absolute truth that women hijacked the civil rights movement. I have to play the clip one more time.
Most important changes that have taken place in respect to the status of women since you've been in Congress.
Well, I think perhaps the most important change was the one that added sex to the bill of 1964. This bill was drafted really to help Negroes. Now, it wasn't clear. It would have meant that Negro women would have been given rights that were not available to white women. Therefore, we added sex. It is my belief that the drafters had assumed that no women would get any rights. So that I think both white and black women were helped by the bill.
Okay. So that you see the clip. Okay? Ultimately, no disrespect to white ladies, man, all across the board. But, I mean, let's just face it, man. Let's just face it, bro. They hijacked the civil rights movement. Now, I'm not saying that women don't have problems of their own and they don't have challenges and injustices that they have to face. But let's just face it. Let's just be honest about it. We have to be honest about this, man. At the very same time that people were fighting for civil rights, black people were fighting for civil rights in this country, white women were doing everything they could to circumvent the process. Come on, man. Let's just be factual about this. I'm not trying to be ignorant, it's just the truth. No busing. These are the facts. It wasn't as if white women were not members of the Klan. They were there. They were there at lynchings. They were there in opposition to and doing everything they could to prevent racial desegregation. Again, more Klan pictures. More lynching pictures where they were present. And more, we want private schools. I'm not anti-Negro, I'm just anti-race mixing and so on and so forth. Now that's the legacy of the civil rights movement. And now, all of a sudden, they come along, these women, all of a sudden they come along and say, well, we want justice. And the woman, man, I gotta play the clip again, man. I gotta play it one more time.
Most important changes that have taken place in respect to the status of women since you've been in Congress?
Well, I think perhaps most important was the one that added sex to the bill of 1964. This bill was drafted really to help Negroes. Now, it wasn't clear. It would have meant that Negro women would have been given rights that were not available to white women. Therefore, we added sex. It is my belief that the drafters had assumed that no women would get any rights. So that I think both white and black women were helped by the bill.
There you go. You see it. You see it. Both white and black women were helped by the bill, which initially was intended to redress injustices related to what? Anybody got the answer to that question? Can you sing along with me? Now, let's just face it, man. Let's tell the truth. We're going to keep it a buck. We're going to keep it a bean. We got to keep it 100% truth. And this is a place where black men can express themselves freely, straight up, with no chasers, man. I don't sugarcoat, pussyfoot, or, go around in circles and present red herrings. Straight no chaser, bro. Straight no chaser. Now, we already know that black women benefit from white women hijacking the civil rights movement. And again, I'm not saying that women have never had challenges of their own as women. However, if you compare and contrast racism with sexism, then what you have is a false equivalency. It's a false equivalency. It's a false equivalency. So you're taking a group of people who are already wealthy, already privileged, and instead of giving those jobs to people who could have used them in order to enhance their familial legacies, you just said, okay, well, you know what? We're not going to allow black women to outdo white women and have more rights than white women in the job market or in professional schools and so on and so forth. So we're going to rig the system and throw sex into the Civil Rights Act, which was intended to redress the horrors of slavery and Jim Crow. And we're just going to give them to white women. As if they actually needed it. They did not need it. As a class of persons, they did not need it. Not for financial purposes. This is all about honor. This is all about who is able to be perceived as an appropriate member of the hierarchy and who is not. Bottom line, man. Now, this Miss Griffiths woman, representative, she's basically telling you that both black and white women were helped by the bill. You know who wasn't helped by the bill? Can anyone guess? Can anyone? Anyone? Ferris? Again, I'm not saying that women didn't have their own issues or whatever the case may be, but let's just face it. White women were not hurting, man. They weren't hurting like that. But here's what makes the insult so more egregious to me. Because now you have women who, for the most part, thrust themselves into a situation in which they demanded that they have equal access to jobs and education. Did they not? Or maybe I'm confused about this. What, pray tell, do you go and get a job for and do you become educated for? What's the main purpose? What is the reason? You go get a job if you're a male or a female to do what? To sustain yourself or to enter into a profession where you can engage in self-development. Okay, fine. All well and good. But this is a move that women made. It wasn't a move that men forced women to make. It was a move that women themselves unilaterally made across the board because they wanted to have access to jobs and education so that they would not have to deal with the evil and the ominous patriarchy. Am I wrong? You wanted equality of distribution. That's what you wanted. You wanted equal opportunity and access to jobs and to education. But here's the difference, though. When men were considered to be predicated upon, the separation of spheres, like the public and the private sphere. So men were considered to be members of the public sphere. Women were considered to be members of the private sphere. Okay? For right or wrong, this is the way that the division of labor was orchestrated by gender or along gender lines to some degree. It was the expectation that men get out there and work and that women, for the most part, take care of hearth and home. That was the deal. That was, the social arrangement. And one could argue this is patterned after, long long-standing historical practices whereby men in hunter-gatherer societies would go out and hunt, whereas the women would stay around hearth and home and, kind of gather things that were necessary to be gathered close to home, whereas men put themselves into greater danger by, bringing home things that they were able to kill from the hunt. Okay, fine. But we don't live in a hunter-gatherer society anymore, now do we? This is not a hunter-gatherer society where men are saying, ladies, if you want to eat, you got to go out there and kill lions, tigers, and bears. That's not how this is going, bro. Nobody told women, you got to go out there and get it. Nobody's saying that. Women themselves said they want to work. They want to engage in careers. They want to go to school. It's women themselves that said this. Now, here's the difference between men and women. See, a man will go out, go and earn, and by himself feel obligated and compelled to take care of that family through his own means. A man is willing to go out and work and share the resources that he derives from his work with his family, whether it be just children or whether it be his wife. He isn't thinking to himself, you know what, wife, you got to go out there and go kill some rabbits on your own. You got to go out there and get it. There ain't no ass, gas, or grass, nobody rides for free. That's not the concept of a man when it relates to his wife. That's not how men think. A man will go out there and work and get a job and bring the money to his family and support them in the best way he knows how. And this is, traditionally speaking, it's normalized. It's baked into our culture. But women, on the other hand, who fought to go out there and get access to education and jobs, they have an issue with going out there and working. Once they get the job after being educated, they have an issue with taking anyone who doesn't have as much education or as much resources from their jobs as they do. So you mean to tell me that it's okay to receive, but it's not okay for you to impart? Is that what it is? It's okay for you to take, but it's not okay for you to give. Again, this wouldn't be a problem. Really wouldn't be a problem if it wasn't the case that there are a limited amount of jobs and access to professional education. It wouldn't be a problem. But it is a problem because right now you have a situation in which men and women are competing for the same sets of jobs and the same slots of admissions into professional programs for education. It is what it is. Only that some groups of persons who are hoping to gain the jobs and education are willing to take on the burden of raising a family with the resources, whereas the other group, not so much so. Imagine if throughout the entirety of history, men had a standard, and the standard was hypergamy. I won't marry a woman unless she has as much money or as much education as I have. Imagine what the world would have looked like. If men were not willing to marry women who didn't have as much money as they had, or didn't have as much education as they had, so all I'm trying to articulate is this, man, in a nutshell. In today's culture, the traditional gender division of labor, where men are expected to be the primary breadwinners and women are expected to stay at home, has become outdated. It's outdated. That's over with, man. So Steve Harvey, hey bro, I understand what you're saying, but you are a relic. You are older than dirt, sir. Your value system is a system of values that is dead. It is dead as a doorknob, sir. It's over. Your viewpoints about men going out and getting it is dead. It's over, bro. As you know, a good personal friend of mine used to say, it's been one. It's been one. It's over. And you ask, why is it over? Well, the shift is largely due to a change in social values, advancement in women's rights, and changing economic conditions. As a result, the traditional model of men as providers and women as homemakers may be viewed as contradictory to contemporary dating and relationship dynamics. Even hypergamy and the growing demands for equal opportunity in the job and professional school market. You can't have it both ways. You cannot have it both ways. Shout out to Salty Balls, man. Says, Scroll of Mystical Beasts, chapter 2, verse 3. Thine she-heathen planted herself as the guardian of the temple of feminism. She adorned herself with the crown of 1,000 horses, The lips of ducks, the eyebrows of caterpillars, and the mask of jesters. Hey, man, you know, you're quite creative, sir. Shout out to Salty Balls, man. And this is not to take anything away from women going out here and getting it, the INDEPENDENT, if you know what that means, all them ladies out there. But think about it. We have different social values now. Over the past several decades, 50 to be exact, social values have evolved to embrace gender equality and challenge traditional gender roles. So as women have gained access to education and career opportunities, they have increasingly pursued professional aspirations, and they have, in essence, they have to contribute to household income now. So their very aspirations has diminished the expectation for men to be sole providers. It's dead. Then you got women's rights and empowerment. The feminist movements and advancements in women's rights have played a significant role in challenging traditional gender roles. So if you're going to challenge them, you can't hold on to the vestiges of those values that benefit you and that burden men excessively. You can't do that. Women are now more empowered than ever to make choices about their careers, their education, and their relationships. This empowerment is going to have to force women to seek partners based on factors beyond just mere finances alone. How about values, shared values? How about shared interest? How about emotional compatibility and all of that? No, I can't have a man driving no bus. He gotta own that bus. If you gotta have a J-O-B. If you're gonna be with me, no romance without finance. Said no man ever. You gotta have a J-O-B if you wanna get with me. Then also, look, what some of these women are oblivious to be perfectly honest, there are changing economic conditions in this country. You are witnessing the rise of dual income households and the increased cost of living. Many families now require both partners to work in order to maintain a comfortable lifestyle, man. You gotta have two people working. And this shift has necessitated a reevaluation of traditional gender roles because both men and women are now expected to contribute financially to the household. This is just what it is, man. So you tell me, explain to me how it is possible in the context of dating and relationships to hold fast to a concept of hypergamy or to the practice of it, seeking somebody who has a higher socioeconomic status. Now, this pattern, it might have been more prevalent in the past when women were dependent on men for financial stability, but it's less relevant in a society where women are increasingly financially independent. It's changed. The expectation for men to be providers while women demand provision, despite seeking equal opportunity in the job and professional market, is a crock of filthy excrement, man. It's nonsense. Because what the expectation does, the expectation really actually perpetuates traditional gender roles, but handicaps men's capacity to be able to fucking fulfill the goddamn role. You're making it impossible for us to fulfill the role. Why? Because you're all in the way, for real, to be honest. You got to figure out what you want. Do you want hypergamy? You want a man that's upwardly mobile? Well then, and you don't want to actually contribute or pitch in to the relationship because you believe that you need to be able to rest in your femininity at home? Well, then you got to get out of the way and let the men take on the job. Man, I'm hot, man. I'm busting my ass here, man. Like the channel, man. I don't know how many people have liked the channel or the video. I don't know how many subscribers. I ain't seen no new subscribers yet. I ain't seen but 2 donations, man. And I'm sweating. Putting this work in, man. I'm literally sweating. I'm upset and I'm getting wet because you're sweating me. And look, I'm not trying to take anything away from women who want to get out there and work and who are upwardly mobile and who are ambitious and so on and so forth. But the problem is, first and foremost, you have to understand, you have the inertia of a system that was hijacked by white women for their own benefit and their own aims and purposes. And black women, in virtue of being women, have been able to dovetail white women and their entry into the job and professional school markets. It's just the way that it is, man. Shout out to Mr. Heat, man. I got to give him some honors, man. I got to give him some honors here, man. You deserve some fanfare, sir. From what I understand, man, I got like 232 people watching and 127 likes, man. Come on, man. Really, man? This is what we doing, bro? Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on now. Complex, what's cracking with you, bro?
Big brother, what's going on, man? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, man. It ain't too happy right now. I'm hot. I'm agitated,
I'm trying to. Hey, I have a question.
Go ahead.
You want to address that super chat first?
Yes, sir. I want to shout out to Mr. Heat. I'm gonna address all the super chats, and then we're gonna get to it.
Okay. All right.
Shout out to Mr. Tolbert, man. I appreciate your donation, sir. I appreciate that, man. You deserve a shout out. Shout out to Alan H3. Thank you, sir. Appreciate the contribution, man. Shout out to RO. He's been hot, man. He's been making a lot of chats out there, man. Shout out to RO, man. Also, shout out to Kiem Kwali. I appreciate you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate that. And look, I'll say this. I'm not saying that we should move back the hands of time and take away women's capacity and ability to enter into professional schools in the job market. However, you also have to understand that there have been incentives and there have been policy initiatives and there has been law that have been driving women into positions that were traditionally held by men. But again, only white men know. We have to be frank about this, because black men were never traditionally given access to, or given favor or privilege. Like, these are words that people always like to use when they talk about men. Oh, privilege and check it and all of that, right? When have black men been privileged? There are some people who say, well, you know, because you have a...
I said, I can't think of a time.
Reconstruction.
Maybe.
But you know what followed Reconstruction, correct?
Jim Crow.
The wholesale denunciation of the phenomena of black men holding positions in government, owning businesses, being involved in politics, and basically being wealthy and uppity, so to speak, in general. You can't have the uppity Negro.
Can't have them.
Can't have that now. Gotta put them back in their place now, boy.
Can't have them reading them law books there.
Now, I mean, look, this is what we're dealing with. And look, I'm not here to hold my tongue. I have to be honest about this. I don't play games. After that, there was a systemized form of terror targeted uniquely and perniciously at black men. We're talking about lynchings. We're talking about genital mutilation during lynchings. We're talking about cross burnings. We're talking about house burnings, bombings, all related to can't have them uppity niggers thinking they're somebody now.
I was going to say, you could bring it up into today's time, and it was nonviolent drug offenses, right?
Well, that's what they call the new Jim Crow.
Yeah, the new Jim Crow, right? See, so it's a replay on the same old shit, but everybody want to act like we didn't see it, deal with it, go through it, experience it, and all that. But I had a question. I had a question to you, right? Ask you with regards to the changing scope, because you spoke about economics in the macro sense, and you know I look at what's going on today largely being impacted by fourth industrialization. You know, even today you had IBM announce, you know, massive layoffs, right? Where they're just essentially going to just employ AI to do a lot of the work of the people that they're going to be letting go of, right?
Right.
So I would say that, or my question, do you think that, you know, I hear these things, you know, with this chick, I guess, whatever she's saying, right? And I think you exquisitely broke down sort of like a lot of the oxymoronic sort of positions, right, within that schism. On the one hand, you know, if you're basically in the workplace dealing and competing with men, but then requiring the protection and provision, but then at the same time looking at a traditional role in reference to that as something that is not of the modern mold, so to speak. There's all these variances that women are oftentimes right just throwing out here, and you know it seems like they don't know their head from their ass sometimes. But my question to you is, do you think that much in the vein of how women have decided that, or whatever they do, they have this whole thing about what their new position in society is. What is your take on what our position in society is new, right? Given the face of fourth industrialization and all of that. I mean, is it incumbent upon us to even uh, maintain some sort of ideal of traditionalism in the face of all this shit?
Personally, not me. No.
Elaborate.
Traditionalism
Elaborate.
is gone. Chivalry is dead. Like Dave Chappelle said a long time ago, man. Chivalry is dead and women killed it. But the reasons for which they killed it are not as explicitly stated as it seems. Because if you ask me, women's entry into the workforce was actually a move to thwart and to stymie racial progress in general. That's just my viewpoint. White people know how to dog whistle. Let's just face it. I'm not being disrespectful by saying that, but they know how to do it. They are the originators of racial politics, not black folks. Although there's so many claims now of reverse racism and so on and so forth. My viewpoint on it is reverse racism. Are you serious? I want
reverse racism would be good relations.
Colonialization, genocide, slavery for centuries, terror after it, marginalization, pushing people to the periphery, sustained violence, prolonged sexual assault.
What's the reverse of that?
There is no, but now what they've done is they've turned racism after it was, encoded into law for centuries. Within the last 60 years, because the Civil Rights Act was passed in 1964. So, of course, we're at the 60-year mark for the most part, okay? And so now, instead of being something that was institutionalized and part of a legal system or part of an entire economic and social system, now it's a matter of subjective feeling and attitude and how you think, or cognitive bias. That's where it is now.
That's where it is, yeah.
So no longer is it something that has been enshrined into law for centuries. It's that I don't think a certain way about a certain person. Or even if I do, I'm not displaying that I have that feeling or that attitude. So, I mean, it's a convenient way to take away societal responsibility and to just totally obfuscate what systemic and institutional racism even looks like. Because now it's just a matter of subjective moral propriety or impropriety.
There's no concrete. No, go ahead.
Well, look, I just want you to think about this. If it's the case that we got to go person to person in a country that's the population is 300 million. So what are we going to do? We're going to personally evaluate the moral propriety and the subjective attitudes and the cognitive, status of everyone and give them a demerit or a merit-based, a tally predicated upon their subjective attitudes. Come on, man, it's nonsensical.
Well, okay. Now I would posit to say this. What say you about social credit systems, right? Kind of similar to what it is that they do in China. Some argue that a lot of these things that you see right now, right, like the Bud Light debacle, for example, right? Bud Light got some trans. I was gonna say dude, still a dude, but I think it's a chick. I don't know. But they got this person to market their stuff. Now, from my understanding is that there's some sort of score that companies get for I guess you could say exercising various social outreaches, right? And I guess there's money on the table for them if they do this, which would kind of explain why Budweiser would shoot themselves in the foot doing something like this, right? So I'm starting to even see like underpinnings of this stuff being institutionalized, say from the corporate side of things, where there's an encouragement through marketing of products.
Yeah,
right.
Look,
and I think that's where we're starting to see. I think that's where we're starting to see, because it had to hit the education institutions, and it had to become a thought modality. It had to be a way of processing your environment, and it had to be institutionalized in education first. Then we'll see it represented through corporate marketing as some sort of social norm.
Yeah. So look, I can't remember the initiative in Hollywood, but at one point there was a set of initiatives in Hollywood where certain things could be seen, they couldn't be seen.
Yes.
Yeah. And there was a promotion of certain values, especially during wartime. I don't know what it was. I have to look it up and to try to figure it out. Let me see if I can find it now. Hollywood.
Like propaganda something.
Yeah, but see, like looking this stuff up on the internet, man, sometimes, you get the right answers, and sometimes.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got to put the right words in, right? We were talking about like Hollywood. So, like, for example, do you remember like during like the early '80s, there were a lot of Cold War type movies, Red Dawn, and War Games, and shit like that, right? Things that kind of coincided with, say, like political maneuverings that were taking place in theater, as they call it.
Okay, so I got the information, right? Okay. So here's the information, right? So during World War II, Hollywood did have like a propaganda arm, okay?
Yes.
Because the U.S. saw the government saw the potential of the film industry as a tool for propaganda, to promote patriotism, to boost morale, and to shape public opinion on the war effort, okay? So they created something in 1942 called the Office of War Information. Okay?
Yes, so that's it.
The Office of War Information. And it worked with the studios in Hollywood to make sure that the films that were produced during that time adhered to what the government wanted to push in terms of a message. You know what I'm saying? So they issued, the OWI, they issued guidelines for the film industry. So avoid, any content that portrayed the enemy in, a certain kind of
favorable light.
Avoid any content that might be divisive. So many of these films were like explicitly propagandistic. You know what I mean? Like Yankee Doodle Dandy, Casablanca, and stuff like that. So, and they also Hollywood also has self-censorship as well. Right, they got something called the Production Code Administration, right, which basically led to enforcing what they call the Motion Picture Production Code, or the Hays Code. So they developed what they considered to be, content that's morally acceptable in films, right?
And is that where the rating system comes into play?
Yeah. So yes. So yeah. Okay. And look, I don't know what's going on now. It's not as if we're privy to everything that's going on now in terms of what is incentivized and what is not. But I can see, because I think in the motion picture industry still today, there are incentives, government incentives and grants, to whereby certain tax credits are given or budget cuts are made related to if certain amounts of, minority groups are represented and things of this nature.
Yes.
Diversity initiatives are fulfilled.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Now, let me just say something, right? In general, I am for the redressing of historical injustices related to what African Americans have undergone in terms of slavery in the United States, okay? I am an advocate of racial justice, okay? But I'm that way. I think that way for black folks in the Americas in general. So some people might say, "Oh, you're expanding your focus. You're being Pan-Africanist." Well, I'm just saying it wasn't just blacks in America who were enslaved. There were blacks that were enslaved in the Caribbean, blacks that were enslaved in Brazil, blacks who were enslaved in Spanish colonies. So I'm just saying, like, slavery was more expansive than just here in the United States. Okay, it just is what it is. Now, all I'm saying is, for crying out loud, bro, like, women, I'm sorry, but as a classified group, a group of persons, nobody forced women onto slave ships except for the fact that they were African descendants. That was the only reason. It wasn't because they didn't drag white women on slave ships and enslave them for centuries.
Right. You know, it's like wow, we're gonna really parse this out, or attempt to, at least, right? Because like you said, it really wasn't a matter of sex. It was more a matter of the fact that these were people that were conquered, or for whatever reason were put up for sale, and didn't matter. It was just who was there to get put up for sale. So it was black folks. That's what it is. It wasn't anything that was separate.
So at the end, all I'm saying is, look, I'm not saying that women did not have to deal with certain sets of deprecating imagery, or like I'm not gonna make that claim.
No.
But I'm saying that in general, I mean, if you just think about it, look across the board, man. Like, come on, man. Like, we just got to be honest and objective about this.
Yeah,
and not too many people want to do that. But I want to get to Jisanity, because he hasn't said anything at all. Here, and I want to give him
I'm just waiting my time, man. I'm just waiting my time.
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead and speak your piece, man. Say something.
Yeah.
Man. But hold on, before you do that, man, I want to do a commercial real quick, if that's okay with y'all. I'm gonna do the commercial, and then I'll be right back.
Channel.
Yeah. So let me do this commercial real quick, and I'll be right back. If I can find it, because I can't be finding things every now and then. Introducing Ion Fast, the revolutionary fat burn that's changing the game in weight management. Say goodbye to slow progress and hello to a powerful, natural solution to support your weight loss journey. Ion Fast potential formula combines caffeine anhydrous for energy and focus, Hoodia extract for appetite suppression, and dandelion extract for antioxidant and diuretic benefits. Together, these ingredients work synergistically to boost thermogenesis, increase metabolism, and to control your cravings. Are you ready to take your weight loss goals to the next level? Discover Ion Fast today. Visit www.ionfast.com to learn more and start your journey to a healthier and fitter you. Always consult a healthcare professional before trying any new supplement. That was a lot of chaos, man, coming back in. I apologize.
No, wait. How can I get down, bro?
What's that, man? What you mean?
A commercial.
Oh, what you need a commercial? I got you, bro. You know what I'm saying? If you
dude,
want,
can we do that?
Yeah, man, that's simple, bro.
All
like
right.
You see me.
Hey,
you see, I just did that.
Hey, can I call you tomorrow? I'm dead serious. Can I call you tomorrow?
Yeah, hit me up, bro.
All right. I didn't know you was doing it like that, fam. Damn.
Nah, GG's been expanding. I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot with the tech. He's changing this channel up completely.
Hey, bro.
We already did. I did the monetization link for the e-bike stuff, but I'll cook up a commercial for you too, bro.
Hey, bro, look, all you got to do is tell me what you want in the commercial, man. I'll revise it. I'll do it. I'll put some music to it. I'll put some visuals to it, man. You know what I'm saying? We'll have a discussion about that.
I'll hit you tomorrow. I'll hit you tomorrow.
Look, man, look. You can hit me up at g@gmail.com, and I'll work on, some commercials or whatever it is you need, man. We'll talk in private about what the rate is and all of that. You know what I'm saying? But what I am trying to do right now is to, today, let you know about the sponsor of today's show. The sponsor is Ion Fast. It's a fat burning supplement, and I'll be leaving the link to Ion Fast in the description of this video, along with a coupon code and a link that, you know, if you use, it'll kick me back a 5%. You know what I'm saying? But like, look, I haven't tried the product yet, okay? But I am going to try it. It's been mailed to me. And, you know, it's filled with caffeine. It's got hoodia, which is an appetite suppressant, and dandelion extract, which is an antioxidant and a diuretic. And so, you know, from what I understand, there's 175 milligrams of caffeine in it. With that's 3 cups of coffee. Personally, you know, like, I mean, you know, take it at your own risk, but I don't encourage anybody to take a supplement unless they first consult with a healthcare professional who can give them guidance on whether or not the ingredients within it are things that they ought to use. Okay, so that's my, you know, disclaimer there. Yeah, that's my disclaimer. Okay, so my Gmail is spelled like my Cash App, except for the fact that there's no $sign in it. Okay. And by the way, I want to shout out the one person who hit me up on the Cash App. I am kind of a little salty about that, but you know, hey man, I am appreciative as well though. So because nobody has to give me anything. But shout out to the brother, man. His name is True, and shout out to him for the donation of $10, man. Appreciate that. Well, somebody, my audio is not messed up, but somebody else's. I think that's Complex Designs audio.
My bad, that's me. My bad.
Yeah, you got it up too loud. Yeah, so Jasanity, man, go ahead, bro. You go ahead and kick the facts to us, man. Speak to us.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm the youngest millennial, and I'm the oldest Gen Z. So that's where I'm kind of putting right there, that kind of age range. And how I see this trend going, we're just going to see a lot more outcry and more outbursts from that elder 40, 45 range B-dub, because they're coming to the realization that it really is over. Like their opportunity window is gone. You know, everything is drying up. So all they can do now is just punch down at whoever they can punch down on, and hopefully someone comes and you know, has sympathy for them, and eventually, you know, I guess buys in. I don't really know. I mean, personally, it just is a lose-lose game in this dating world, in this realm. I mean, from all those different stories and just the facts about it, it's just at this point, what's really the point? I mean, Passport Bros, yeah, it's an opportunity, but you bring that woman over here, and within 3-5 years, she's been indoctrinated by the same stuff that all these other women indoctrinated. So everything's a risk, but it's like, what I really enjoy about this manosphere is about just, I think, overall empowerment and like moving yourself forward, because like 2-3 years ago, almost 2 years ago, I was coming out of jail, you know, and it wasn't even a long stint, but I didn't have any real direction in life, and I come from a 2-parent household. It's just, when you're born in this system, you just get like brainwashed, you get programmed. And then, you know, when I started keying into the manosphere, started listening to Dr. T.S. Johnson, Kevin Samuels, and eventually BGS. From BGS, I got to Green Gorilla, Keep It 100. You know, it started like, it's almost like you have a bunch of mentors that you don't have to speak to. You just hear them from the day-to-day aspect, and then you continue to grow. I mean, now I'm almost a year into cybersecurity. I'm making good money now, and it's just like great. But that whole idea, dream of having a family and, you know, having kids and a steady wife and stuff like that, it's becoming more and more a fantasy in my opinion. It's not really.
And that's the problem, right? Because men want families, they want children. A lot of men want to stick around with women, and, you know, like, find partnerships that are substantive, that aren't just based upon what you can do for them. Like, I mean, think about how it's actually unfolded for a person like Steve Harvey, who, you know, has the mindset that he's supposed to be a provider and a protector, and he's supposed to, you know, be a leader and so on and so forth. Like, I mean, he still ended up divorced. Well, I mean, and look, this goes for the richest most famous, most high value men, so to speak. Like it happened to Michael Jordan. It happened to Tiger Woods. It happened to Emmett Smith. It happened to Chris Rock. It happened to Luther Campbell. We see one man being humiliated by his wife in public, Will Smith. Okay, we're just seeing. You saw a man who recently got divorced. Tyrese Gibson, I think is his last name. Okay, this happened to what? It happened to the cat that owns like Amazon, didn't it? Didn't it happen to him?
Yeah, Bezos got divorced. Yeah, so did Gates.
So look, the question then is, what is the criteria for you to be in a long-lasting relationship? There is none that you can meet. It's all up to the whimsy of a woman. Because the divorces are mostly initiated by women. Now, I'm not saying that men don't ever initiate divorces, but the vast majority of divorces are initiated by women. And for what reason? I'm not happy anymore. And what's the reason? They're irreconcilable differences. Yeah. Yeah. And let's face it, marriage throughout history to some degree was based on hypergamy. I'm not saying it wasn't. Anybody could not just get married, okay? And typically, the marriage was a familial arrangement more so than it was just a reflection of the romantic desires of the persons who were being married.
Yeah, Gigi, I was going to say, typically that was kind of like some family to family shit, right? Like typically, the guy be a doctor or a politician or some shit, and then he wants his daughter with the son of the doctor who's going into dentistry or some shit, right? So they were always kind of trying to make things happen like that. And even black folks, I don't know how prominent institutions like Jack and Jill are nowadays.
They're still here. Yeah.
That's still here. Okay. But see, that's one of the mechanisms that black folks have traditionally utilized to kind of practice, those same sort of pairing principles.
But one of the things that you got to be mindful of is this, man. And I've spoken on this before, okay? But shout out to the other people who've hit me up on the Cash App. I appreciate it. Let me shout them out. And then other people who've hit me up on Super Chats as well. I want to give a shout out to Kalon, appreciate you, and James Wills. He says for Dub Will, can't just have one donation. Shout out to them brothers, man. I gotta give them. Yeah. It's like ladies, baby. You can't just have just one.
Yeah, right.
I want to make sure that all of this is off, though. Hold on, let me make sure, man. All of these. Let me see. I gotta go to my bombs here, man. I'm sorry. I know I'm gonna be. I want to make sure all of these explosions.
Man, you've been dropping the heavy artillery today, bro.
Yeah, man. I got to make sure they're all off. Okay. I don't have a production designer or anything like that. It's just all me pushing buttons on the stream deck, bro. With OBS, you know what I'm saying?
Good, you good, dog. You good, man.
And a lot of guys don't, like OBS. I try not to overcomplicate it, man. I have a StreamYard type setup. If I was showing my face, if I had a camera, it'd probably be more going on. Camera angles and stuff like that, and me zooming in and out and lights and shit. But it's too much right now. I can't do all that right now. So
anyway, more than me,
look,
bro.
So look,
doing more than me.
Yeah, well, look, I've said this before. I think that more than anything else, what you're seeing, like with a woman like Eboni K Williams, I think what you're seeing is what the philosopher Jean-Jacques Rousseau would call amour propre, okay? And it's a French term, okay? But let me dissect it so it's understandable, okay? Now, the term is French. It translates to self-love or self-esteem, okay, in English. But it's a concept used in philosophy and psychology to describe a sense of self-worth, self-respect, or pride that an individual has. Again, the term is associated with the work of Jean-Jacques Rousseau, who was an Enlightenment philosopher, okay, who distinguished between amour propre and another form of self-love that he called amour de soi. Now, stay with me here, right?
You got it. Go ahead.
According to Rousseau, amour de soi is a healthy and a natural form of love that's based on self-preservation and well-being. But amour propre is more social, so it's not natural, it's social. And it's a comparative form of self-love. And it's based on the desire for recognition and approval from other persons. So while Rousseau thought that amour de soi was healthy, he believed that amour propre could lead to negative emotions and behaviors like envy, jealousy, or a tendency to one-up persons and to seek power over them, okay?
Yeah.
So why is it relevant? Because in my viewpoint, what you see in contemporary culture is that some women are preferring to engage in relationships with men who are financially well off while still advocating for equal opportunities in the workforce, okay? But this preference is a double standard, and it contradicts the own principles that they say they want to proliferate, which is gender equality. They want equality of reception and distribution, but they don't want equality of burden and retribution. And I have a problem with that. But at any rate, amour propre potentially plays a role in this double standard, okay? As the desire for social recognition and approval may lead some women to seek relationships with wealthy men. So in this context, having a well-off partner can be perceived as a status symbol or a reflection of your own success and self-worth. Additionally, I mean, there's the desire for money and comfort, you know, the what they call it, the soft life or whatever the case may be, the leisure girl life or whatever. But I mean,
Life of leisure.
whatever. I don't know what the terms are now. Okay, but it's true. Not all women hold this double standard, but a lot of women do. So there are many women who genuinely believe in the importance of gender equality and work to it. Okay, but there are some who don't. Okay, now people are still holding on and preserving to these gender roles while at the same time reaching up for, you know, like access to wealth and luxury and all of this. But this is hypergamy. And look, in the context of amour propre, this could lead to disastrous results, not just for men, although it is more disastrous for men than it is for women a lot of times, especially with the change in family law and so forth. But I mean, there are stories like in literature, like I don't understand why women, particularly since they're like one of the most educated groups, why they're not getting this or don't understand the shallow and the superficial nature of this, right? So like, for example, if I were to say, you know, like what are some stories that point out the shortcomings of amour propre, okay? And its impact on the characters of those stories' lives and relationships. Mm-hmm. You got Pride and Prejudice, written by a woman. I mean, look the title, Pride and Prejudice, bro.
Pride and Prejudice, yeah.
So it's a novel that explains how pride, vanity, and self-interest in the lives of the characters, particularly the relationship between Elizabeth and Mr. Darcy, both of these characters have to overcome their own pride and prejudice in order to find love and happiness. That's what it's about. Get rid of your pride and find happiness. Stop being asses, okay? You got The Great Gatsby. I don't know if you ever heard of that or remember that.
I had to read it in high school.
So basically, the story is, the protagonist of that story is a dude named Jay, and he's driven by like this big shot attitude, like I'm gonna impress this chick with this money. So, he resorts to doing illegal or illicit things in order to get the money, but it ultimately leads to his downfall, and he don't get the girl no way. He gets, it's a disaster, okay? You got the portrait or the picture of Dorian Gray, where you got a man who's obsessed with preserving what he looks like, his youth and his beauty at any cost. So his narcissism and his corruption eventually leads to his downfall. I mean, that's just white stories, right? There's another one called Wuthering Heights. Okay?
I remember that, Wuthering Heights.
Yeah, so I
remember that. Yeah.
I mean, and then you got Madame Bovary. I talked about Madame Bovary. That's a perfect example of a woman who, basically, she basically is like, I want the lavish life, the glamorous life. She wants to lead a glamorous life. Or I'm living in a material world.
Your world, because I'm a material girl.
So look, this is what she does.
I'm not.
Right?
I'm just saying. I'm just singing the song, y'all.
Right. So this chick in this story, she's married to a dude named Charles Bovary, and her name is Emma, and she's increasingly dissatisfied with her position in life because she ain't rich enough. She ain't got enough. So she dreams of more exciting lifestyle, the kind that's described in romantic novels and dime store novels and stuff like that, right? Or like what you would see in contemporary television, Real Lives of This. And you see all of this so-called glamour. But most of these people, this is a script with a budget. This is not even real. But I mean, like Love and Hip Hop and all of this. Anyway,
wouldn't that fall under that? Wouldn't that fall under the propaganda thing?
Well, all I can tell you is these shows are designed to sell products, man. That's what every television show is designed for, bro. Okay?
Well, remember, we also said that now they're incentivized to sell ideology as well. And I would posit to say that that what you were speaking to goes back to the days of Bernays. Right, and the social engineering to accept women smoking cigarettes, for example, right? That was kind of like one of the first sort of mass marketing to sort of change social acceptance of things, right? And I think that with that, the suffragettes, all of those movements that started at the turn of the 20th century, and then it just seems to kind of repackage and present itself in a new face and new clothes, right? But with every other era.
But Edward Bernays is a genius, But my whole thing is, look, let me mute you right quick. Okay, so look, here's my thing, right? No disrespect, but I think that what you have now is a system of corporate-backed patronage related to inclusion and diversity that really doesn't actually arc towards justice in relation to inclusion and diversity. That's just my opinion.
I agree.
I don't think that you're really actually, what you're getting is corporate-backed patronage that promotes tokenism without an attendant movement towards distributive justice in the United States. Or even, like the expansion of the middle class. People think that people think that people like myself are asking for like communism or socialism. No, just expand the middle class and, just a little bit more taxation on the wealthiest person so that there can be a real trickle down economics as opposed to the faux one that, the people on the right always promote, the classical liberals or whatever the case may be. Okay. Now, all I'm saying is, we could do better in providing an economic floor for the people in our country. But I've already gone over this. One of the reasons I think why you don't have that in America, in particular, the United States, is because of the preponderance of, the overwhelming number of racial others who exist here. Like if this was an all-white country, I don't think that there would be any problem with them creating a wider social safety net. I don't think so. I don't believe it. Now,
I think we've seen proof, but we've seen proof of that, right?
I mean, look, they had the Homestead Act for themselves. They had, like the GI Bill, which they reserved for themselves. They had the FHA loan policies, which they reserved for themselves and didn't give to, So, the only thing I can say is, look, but thinking about, I don't want to go too far away from Madame Bovary, though, because it's a perfect example. So the woman in this story, she wants a more exciting lifestyle, right? So she's already married to a doctor, but he's a regular doctor. He ain't like a jet setter or nothing. He's just a regular ass dude, okay? Regular doctor, okay? But basically she has a self-love that's based upon being recognized by others and being approved by others. So she wants this admiration and envy. So she craves a life that mirrors the romanticized ideal she has that she's gotten from these dime store novels, right? And one could argue there's a contemporary, equivalent to that in terms of women who watch Real Lives of Atlanta or Love and Hip Hop or, that kind of stuff, right? So she wants this social validation. And so what it does is it leads her to engage in a series of extramarital affairs and seeking passion and excitement outside of the context of her marriage. Now, today, this has been normalized. Okay, but the book is supposed to be a cautionary tale. So in this book, you have an example of amor propria, and it also influences not only her dalliances, but it influences her material desires. She thinks that having luxurious possessions is going to elevate her social standing and make her more desirable in other people's eyes. But what it does is it leads her to debt and financial ruin as she purchases expensive items that she can't afford.
I was going to say crass consumerism.
So in the end, her amor propria is so destructive that, it leads to despair, isolation, and tragedy. It's a cautionary tale, Madame Bovary is, illustrating the negative consequences of having an excessive focus on amor propria and the desire for external validation. Now, there's also, if you didn't know, there is a Black story written by a woman by Zora Neale Hurston. She also wrote The Eyes of Watching God, okay? If I'm not mistaken. I could be mistaken, but I don't think that I am. She wrote a story called The Gilded Sixpence. Have you ever heard of that?
What was it called again?
The Gilded Sixpence.
No, I've never heard that.
Okay, so I remember reading this as an undergraduate at Xavier University, okay? So, it's a short story by Zora Neale Hurston, and it's set in a predominantly Black town in Florida in the 1930s, okay? And it follows the lives of a couple. I think the woman's name is Missy, and the dude's name is Joe or something like that, right? Okay, so the story starts off, the couple's all good. They have a loving, simple life and all of this. Loving relationship, simple life. But it's all disrupted when some flashy, charismatic dude comes into town, and his name is Otis, okay? He comes into town, slick zoot suit motherfucker, right? He's a man who seems to have a lot of wealth and who flaunts gold coins, right? Stylish clothes and impressing the town people with how he moves. And, it's the savoir faire of this guy, right? So he impresses Joe and Missy, and the couple, again, they become enamored with him and his display of wealth. So in an attempt to gain the esteem of her husband, Missy makes a compromising decision and fucks Otis, the slick dude. To me, it's like a rapper dude. So she fucked the rapper, but then, when Joe discovers that his wife's fucked the rapper, he's devastated. Who wouldn't be devastated if he's in a loving relationship, or he thinks he is, and his wife is seduced by some spinster, you know what I'm saying, ends up piping her, dicking her down, excuse me, and who wouldn't be devastated by that? Well, we know one guy who wouldn't be. I ain't gonna say no names, but I did a short about it a long time ago. Said, if you came home and you saw a man's, you know, down your wife's throat, you wouldn't be upset now. Okay, all right then. Okay, cool. But anyway, the whole point is, it's later revealed that Otis, his wealth is merely an illusion, and the gold coins that he has are gilded. And of course, you know what gilding is. It means that they're not really actually gold, but they're gold plated. They're layered with gold, and that they're ultimately worthless. Okay? The Gilded Six Bits, man, is the name of the story. And it also is a story about amor propria. So
how does it end? How does it end?
Well, it ends with like the woman fucking up her marriage in essence. Hold on, man. It ends with their marriage being destroyed because she decided to screw a dude for a gold coin, and the gold coin was a fucking some phony shit, some fugazi shit. It's fugazi. Like, imagine your marriage coming to a halt and you destroying it over sleeping with somebody else in order to get some money, and the money was fake. That's like, what's the name of that movie? The proposition where you sleep with somebody. Can I sleep with your wife for $1 million? The proposal, and the proposal wasn't even real.
Indecent.
Bro, you gotta do something with that mic, man. Hey, bro. That's too. You got a ground connection problem with that mic, man.
Hold on a second.
Yeah, he said, "Oh, this is the proto Pookie." Hey, it is what it is. He says, "GG, if you want to learn French, watch French movies with African actors. They speak it in a way that I found other African diaspora people can get it faster." For sure. Shout out to that brother right there, man. I'm just Jules. Shout out to also Bruce Owen Wayne. Says GG needs French classes. Hey, man, I'm not French, bro. I can read it, but I can't, I'm not trying to speak it like that. But shout out to them. Shout out also to the Jack. He says, keep up the great work, Dr. GG. Your work is very important to the black men to understand the behavior of the B-Dub. Also, shout out to Salty Balls again. He says, GG, BGS Ibmore, two Tony Brown videos, Africana womanism and cults of influence, and do black feminist writers victimize black men may be valuable to analyze, and shows that was being suppressed by black men in the 80s. So, you know, I think both of those videos are on my channel, if I'm not mistaken. But look, all of this to say, I think amor propria is what's driving a lot of what we see in contemporary culture, especially like the so-called rivalry between black women and black men, especially with a person like Eboni Williams. It's like, come on, man. You're looking for external markers of success, wealth, social status, and appearance over personal values, genuine connections, emotional well-being. Like, what's the end in that? Like, I mean, you know, and Ilyana Van Zant was trying to talk to her, but it really didn't get through to her because she's shallow. All she cares about is the pursuit of social status and external validation, bro. That's it. Instead of, you know, genuine connections, trust, and mutual respect, man. That's it.
Is my mic coming in okay, man?
It's coming in okay now.
All right, cool. Yeah, do you think that's due to it's almost like a kind of like a firmware programming type of thing, right? So you would think that there's sort of like a natural sort of draw to do things in a way that are in accordance with nature, for example. But when there's sort of like this reverse psychology to how you how you approach just like life in general, one has to wonder like how deep seated is that? Is that even something that people can fix? I tend to kind of give some indifference to that because I'm like, wow, man, if you really can't parse out right from wrong, what's in balance, what's in accordance, if these things don't make sense to you, I think you got some deeper issues.
Well, I mean, again, the reason that I went over all of this information is because it should be part of any especially a professional, someone who's matriculated through undergraduate and graduate school or professional school. They should have come into contact as, a matter of general study, the great works of literature and the novels that are supposed to teach moral lessons about superficiality and, what, like substance versus style arguments, what they really look like. Like the perfect example, I read Madame Bovary in high school, bro. Like how could it be that we have a group of women who are so educated but are so superficial? It means that they're really actually not consuming the education in a way that's going to be enriching. But I'm not just saying that women are victim to this. It could be that men are as well. But I know one thing. Look, let me just say this. Most people who go to school to jump through hoops, to attain objectives, and to jump over hurdles in order to get something else. So education is instrumentally valuable to them. And that's all it is. Now, I tend to perceive education as something intrinsically valuable. That's just my perspective. I think learning in and of itself is its own reward.
Right.
Now, not to say that you shouldn't have any other rewards that come along with it, but I mean, is the only thing that you're mindful of throughout the entirety of your academic career, is it only that you're trying to get to an end point? Like, did you take anything along the way? Did you learn anything from like your literature classes, your history classes, like your business classes? Did you take anything from, your philosophy courses, your great literature courses? Like, what did you learn? Now, I don't have a problem with STEM. I think STEM is great. But I mean, like most women are in STEM anyway. Not to say that there aren't a great deal of women in it, because there are. But like, let's just face it, man. It ain't just about how to, balance equations, or how to, tally and record numbers, or, how to, manipulate symbols of science, which is great. I'm not saying that these things aren't great, but you're supposed to be educated. The entirety of your person is supposed to be educated when you graduate from a 4-year institution of higher learning. You're supposed to be exposed to the great works of literature that teach you moral lessons through laboratories of imagination. And I just don't see, like, I can't see somebody who's an attorney not having these kind of tools at her disposal. I don't understand it. And I don't see women in general not having access to understanding predicated upon the type of learning that they're supposed to be receiving at these institutions. But I guess I can see why, though, because the trajectory, the canon has changed at the university. That's the canon is changing.
That's what I was kind of getting at.
Huh?
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah, the canon has changed.
I was going to say that. Sorry, Gigi. I was just going to say that too, because I had gone to PWI and HBCU during my undergrad, so I had seen it from both views. And I remember taking a philosophy course, and they were talking about intersectionality. And in the classroom, there's only probably like 5 brothers, and the rest was like probably 18, 19 sisters. So when she was espousing just all the stats and how Black women get it, the double-edged aspect where they're also women and their minority status, it was kind of like everything is being focused on them, and academia is coddling them and letting them know that no matter what their downfalls are, that they can still be okay in a sense. But it just shows you right there that there was 18 women in that classroom, only 5 men. So just right there alone, you're not getting the way academia is even pushing its rhetoric and everything is not really oriented towards males. It's everything's for the woman, by the woman. It's just everything's for the woman. Like when Steve Harvey said, why are you asking what she brings to the table? She can bring another you. He literally is just limiting her just to her womb. So it's kind of like it's just crazy on both sides. But that was like two of my takeaways I want to say. And then just to put in the academia side of it is just they don't even really, I wouldn't even say teach, because you're speaking on these books that you read in high school. Chinua Achebe, Things Fall Apart. My younger brother read that in high school in his private school, but we're reading that at an HBCU college, a 300 level course. So it just lets you know that even the curriculum isn't really to standard per se, all across the board.
Gotcha. I get it, bro. Hold on. Let me. I gotta change because it's too much. Yeah, I had to change my video because it's all of that. I know a ping it sounds better than a whole bunch of grunting and growling from a gorilla. So that's why I changed that up. But yeah, man, look, I get it, bro. The problem is that like there's such an outweighing or there's such a overwhelming amount of women, particularly black women, in comparison to black men at the university level. Bro, you're gonna have a hard time pushing through anything that's contrary to the predominant narrative that's being pushed right now. And unfortunately, there's just now starting to be, some sort of pushback against some of these theories that have had a monopoly on the minds of people who come through the university for so long. And to change the trajectory, it's going to be an uphill battle. It just is, okay? It's just the way it is, bro. People are going to demonize and stigmatize you for, objecting and having things to say which are contrary to the prevailing narrative, or the narrative that makes white people feel comfortable, bro. And quite frankly, let's be honest about this, man. The intersectional narrative makes white women comfortable, bro. It is what it is. It's what they want.
It's inclusive, isn't it?
Well, it basically, it doesn't lose sight of the fact that there is something inevitably damning about being a woman. So it preserves that. It doesn't remove that. It adds to it. It accentuates it. All it does is it adds new layers to it.
Yeah, it gives it like kind of like a different I guess you could say dimension. Yeah, like you said, layer.
Yeah, that's all it does, man. It's like it's window dressing. It's like putting fenders on one of your bicycles, bro. It just is
right?
what it is.
It's like adding a basket or something.
Yeah. It's adding a basket to it, bro. Because it doesn't change the paradigm. All it does is it adds to the paradigm. Intersectionality is additive. It's not subtractive.
It's not so. It really isn't. It's like it compounds in all actuality. It compounds, right? Because now there's all these other multi-complexities, right? Some of the stuff I hear, I just say, I'm not even gonna bother myself with trying to understand.
But here's the odd thing about it to me. Okay, the odd thing about intersectionality is that it seeks to, at least openly, it professes to want to deeply change and challenge gender norms and essences related to gender. Okay, but what it does is it actually calcifies gender norms and essences related to gender. It essentially presents a viewpoint about men that they're like this and that women are like that. And that women, because they are like this, deserve this. And men, because they're like that, deserve that. And men, because they're men, have a proclivity to engage in activities that are driven by the desire to have power and control, right? And so they want to do away with these, essences, but they end up reifying the very things that they say they want to destroy or undo. And that's the problem.
Well, because you can't really get away from them, can you?
Well, put it this way, bro. Look, let me just say this. And, I'm not, because I'm at the 2-hour mark almost. Let me just say this. To me, first of all, like, feminism has always been something that was it interrupted racial justice in the United States. First and foremost, a group of women who were part of the problem. They interrupted what could have been a moment of justice for black people. So, because they had to thrust themselves into the positions that probably should have been best reserved for black men. Or men from other ethnicities or what have you. But they had to force their way in because, of course, who's going to get first dibs? The white woman who's your wife, your daughter, or your mother, or people who you consider to be outside of your kinship group or your in-group in general. Who's going to get first dibs? If there's going to be some justice apportion and we have to attend to the necessities related to justice, why not start with family first? And that's what they did. But the whole point is, like, let's just be frank about this, man. The vast majority of women are not happy. Like, the social experiment has not left women more happy. That's just an empirical fact. Like, if you do psychometric testing, are women happier today? They're less happy. They're more upset. They're more agitated. But the problem with this kind of, like, this whole gender war thing, it's incessant. It will be no end in sight. It won't end. It'll never be an occasion to end it. Not as long as people are competing over scarce resources. And that's what it's become. But the funny thing is that when women get the resources, they don't share them with anybody except for their children. They don't share them with men. I'm not going to say that that's absolute, but like, you could see in real time, you're witnessing the attitudinal psycho profile of women who think that they don't want to date people who are beneath them or can't enhance the material quality of their lives. You don't have to make this up. You're looking at it in real time.
No, this isn't. No, there's no.
But then if you say it's superficial, maybe perhaps there are other factors that need to be taken into consideration. Now you got black men in the academy writing books like, well, maybe perhaps black women should marry white men. Maybe they're better dating candidates for black women.
Yeah,
like,
that one guy wrote that book. That one guy. What's his name?
I don't know. I can't remember.
Like last year, I think that book came out.
He's a real fucking Quisling, a jackass that guy is, man. No, I'm like, so the way to get out of the dating problem is to now connect yourself emotionally. Like, do you really want to get into it? This is the thing that kills me, right? So at the current moment, what's happened is the focus on interracial injustice has pretty much been neglected in favor of the easier and the more manageable project of intra-racial injustice. And guess who gets left holding the bag in that whole display of indignation related to injustice? Guess who wins that battle?
That would be this guy over here.
It won't be us. And the reason being is because, let's just face it, man, quite frankly, man, America loves its niggers, man. And you just so happen to fit the profile. America loves its niggers, man. I mean, this is what James Baldwin talked about. Like, we have to have one. It is what it is, man. And this is a unique American phenomenon. And everybody wants to remove themselves from the distance of the problem, the boogeyman, the black nigger, who has no humanity about him. He just has a pathological orientation to the world, and he's contending with his own impotence and incapacity to be an active agent of progress. And so he lashes out against those who are closest to him. Now, no one else does this but that nigger. I mean, gay people don't do it. Of course, they're like Skittles and feathers. I mean, everybody imagines gay people to be, you know, like, just think about what gay signifies, happiness. I mean, because that's the original definition of gay, correct?
Yeah, I was going to say that's originally what it meant.
Happy.
Yeah.
So, like, nothing in the world is ailing them. There's no predisposition towards anything pathological, psychologically, or behaviorally. I mean, they're just, hey, baby, I want love for everyone in all times. No maliciousness, no nothing. And we've done the same thing with women. Like, I mean, it's maddening. It's the same thing. We've created like this fantasy where women are just perceived as innately benevolent. And I'm like, where's this coming from? Like,
didn't that come from Disney? The whole Disney.
Bro, this came from Victorian England, bro.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, but I'm saying in today's modern time, right? Like, there's always this reference to the Disney princess sort of narrative, right? That once again, that programming, that propagandizing of social normality. You know what
yeah,
I
think.
mean?
So look, so this is the way I perceive it, right? The idea that women were more, and I'm about to cap this off. Okay, so here's the deal, right? The idea that women were more virtuous than men in Western culture began to really actually gain prominence in the 18th and the 19th century. So we're talking about the 1700s and the 1800s, particularly again in the context of the Victorian era in Britain. So you started to see a shift in attitudes towards women and the emergence of what was considered to be the cult of domesticity. Okay, so you're moving from a point at which there was an agrarian an economy to an industrialized economy. Okay, and so this cult of domesticity emphasized the role of women as mothers, wives, and caregivers, and upholders of virtue, piety, purity, and submissiveness, and domesticity, and all of this, right? So you get this idea of the angel in the house. And it was a popular representation of the ideal woman. She's morally superior, she's gentle, self-sacrificing, and this image was idealized in art. It was literature, pop culture, and it reinforced this concept that women were inherently more virtuous than men. Okay? So you can also look at the chivalry code and, you know, love of, you know, the courtly love and all of this stuff. And here you can see like this idea that women are like more genteel and all of this stuff than men, but it wasn't as widespread or pronounced at that time as it was in Victorian England. Okay? Now, before the 18th century, though, I'm talking about the 1700s, assumptions about women and their character were influenced by like a variety of different factors, man, like religious teachings, philosophical ideas, medical beliefs. Like it was a whole different, it's a consortium of factors that contributed towards like an assessment of what the character of women was like. But in ancient philosophy, like for example, ancient Greece and Rome, women were considered to be inferior to men intellectually and physically. Women were perceived as more emotional, they were irrational, susceptible to temptation. Okay, Aristotle, one of the greatest Greek philosophers out there, said that women were incomplete men. okay? And they were naturally subordinate. Women were to focus on being wives, mothers, and caretakers, but nothing much else, okay? Then you get early Christianity. You got the story of Adam and Eve, and it contributed to the perception that women were the source of sin and temptation. Now you got redemption in relation to the concept of the Virgin Mary, which is like a counterpoint, but I mean, you tell me which was the more damning or the more influential perception of women. Adam, and Eve, the story, or the Virgin Mary. But women were seen, but at least you had an interplay, a juxtaposition. You got like polarity there. But now you don't have any polarity at all. But also women were seen, at this time, like in medieval Europe, as both sinners and as redeemers, okay? Then you get to the early modern period, which is like the 16th and the early 17th centuries. Shit, white men thought that women were in league with the fucking devil, man. They start burning them up. Like literally torturing the shit out of them. Because they thought they were in league with the devil. They came up with books like the Malleus Maleficarum, which is the witch's hammer. They started giving them trials by ordeals to determine whether or not they were actually, in league with Satan.
That whole Salem witch shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that I'm not saying that that was justifiable at all to any degree. Okay. So don't make it seem as if I'm trying to justify, like witch hunts and shit like that. To me, it's absurd. Okay. However, there was the notion that women could be both vicious and virtuous. Now, what you have with this cult of domesticity is the idea that women can only be virtuous. But you have to understand where it emerges from. It emerges from an era in which the Industrial Revolution has just started to take place. Men are going off to work. Women are staying at home. So it's a way to control the psychological profile of women and to give them a character script that they're supposed to follow. Now, I mean, like one can argue about the relative merits about personally, I don't need a woman to be absolutely submissive. All I need is for the chick to be fucking cooperative and to not try to jam me up with the law or not to try to fuck me over and make me look bad in front of the public in order to fucking show that she has some power. I need somebody who actually is going to be like, I give a fuck about you. I'm not just trying to get money and, resources out of you. I'm trying to actually get some, love out of you and some, companionship out of you. I'm trying to perceive you not as a utility, but as, someone who, I could build a future with, that sort of shit. But you don't see that today. What you see is a bunch of women with their fucking hands out.
Yeah, there's no basic reciprocity to individuals, right? These are kind of like basic. Well, you would think, right? You just referenced a lot of even classical work that is sort of broken down, right? The virtues of self-love being expressed in a way that's beneficial to those around versus that which is destructive to oneself. You know what I mean? We've seen this, and so it's like well, I'm not going to ask another question. We got another brother up, and I'm gonna actually drop off. So I'm gonna go grab some dinner for my baby cakes here. Gigi, it's been a good one. I'm gonna email you tomorrow morning because I'm down for that.
For sure, man.
I appreciate you for having me up, man. A dope build as always.
Just call me on the phone, man, and text me before you call me or something. Hit me up.
Yeah, I'll hit you before I call.
All right, bro.
All right, bro. Go.
Peace. So we're about to get this thing off to a close. I want to hear from Ben. I think Jasanity has already left. I'm not sure, but I know he did leave a message saying that he was about to leave really soon if he hasn't left already. Ben, are you there?
Thanks for having me up. I just wanted to say, when you're in high school, your teacher would say, there's more to reading a book. You have to have, not only do you have to understand it, you need comprehension, retention, and you need to be able to apply what you learn from the book. I noticed that with most educated women, They went to school. They had the knowledge. I mean, we have libraries of knowledge now. They seem to have read and understood, but the application and the comprehension does not seem to apply to them. Because even when I converse with most of them, basic vocabulary seems to be beyond them. I mean, how can you be educated?
Hey, bro, like, look, let me just say this, man. Look, I'm not gonna look, I get your point, but I'm not gonna go as far as to say like women are all illiterate. They don't know how to, or they don't have a great grasp or command of the English language. I think.
No, I don't mean to say. I don't mean to come as. I don't mean to come. I don't mean it to come as they're not. They're illiterate. No, I mean the way they are processing the knowledge. It seems they lack reflection. I remember Earl Nightingale said the problem with most people today is that people don't think enough, or they don't think deeply enough, and I think that's the problem we're having right now.
Yeah, so I think that's true. I think, look, I think what's missing from black folks today, like black folks have become so money hungry and so status seeking that it's not about uplift anymore, and that's one of the things that used to be a vital and a constitutive part of the black struggle was uplift. Today it's just about, I wouldn't even call like this. There's no concept of uplift today. It's about I gotta get the bag for me. I gotta get it. I gotta get mine. You gotta get yours. Biggie Small, fuck the world. Don't ask me shit. Everything you get, you got to work hard for it. You have people who went from sacrifice and putting their bodies at risk to now it's just like, I gotta have it all. Look at this wild. I mean, it's men. Like men are also on that same BS. If you listen to the rap today, it's no different than what it was. It's a little different. It's more materialistic than it's ever been. And not to say that it wasn't materialistic back in the day. It was to some degree, but I mean, think about the quality of the music that's coming out and like the subject matter of the songs. It's like, look at my chain, my watch, my cars, my clothes. Look at my chicks. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what else is there more to offer? At least guys were contemplating. Like, I mean, you had a balance when I was younger. So, I mean, today, I guess you got Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole, but bro, we had De La Soul. We had Tribe Called Quest. We had X-Clan, we had Public Enemy, we had LL, Cool Mo, BDP, Rakim, LL. I mean, and they were talking, some of the stuff they were talking about was materialistic, but every song, every articulation, every expression was not about, I'm better than you because I got this money.
True.
But this is where we are today, man. Like, I mean, and both men and women are on it. But the only thing I don't like about it is, first of all, like, if women being so educated, if they're going to take on the mantle of leadership for black folks in general, if that's what they, have ambitions to do, then they have to look beyond just their own, their own interest. Like, I mean, even like ancient philosophy understands, if you're going to have a community and you're going to have leaders in the community, you need like a class of persons who understand that the best for the entirety of the group is going to be the ultimate good. Like that's Plato 101. Like this sum total of like Platonic political philosophy. I just don't understand how they don't get it. I understand that, this whole notion of women's oppression, but I mean, come on, man, let's face it, bro. The slave trade and women's oppression. Slave trade, women's oppression. Transatlantic slave trade, women's oppression. Which one has added up to more atrocities and horrors through the annals of time? So there you have your answer, man. Today's show is going to come to a close. Thank you, Sir Ben, for coming to join me today, man, and making a comment. Appreciate having you. Also, I just want to give a shout out to all the people out there who've so kindly and generously donated to my Cash App, man. I appreciate you guys, man. It's hard out here on these YouTube streets, But I thank you for joining me each time that you do. So big ups to all of y'all out there, man.
You have a good one.
Peace out to you, bro. Well, anyway, man, I want to say this. Shout out to all of y'all, and shout out to my sponsor today, which is Ion Fast. I'm going to run a commercial, and then I'm going to get up out this piece, man. I hope y'all have a good weekend. I'll be back tomorrow with, my assessments of various clips and shorts and stuff like that. It'll probably be midday tomorrow, so please join me then. But until then, man, y'all be peaceful, man. Peace, hair grease, and love, man. Like that dude from Soul Train, man. Cornelius, man. So I'll holler at y'all, man, on the next one, man. Peace.
Introducing Ion Fast, the revolutionary fat burn that's changing the game in weight management. Say goodbye to slow progress and hello to a powerful, natural solution to support your weight loss journey. Ion Fast potential formula combines caffeine anhydrous for energy and focus, Hoodia extract for appetite suppression, and dandelion extract for antioxidant and diuretic benefits. Together, these ingredients work synergistically to boost thermogenesis, increase metabolism, and to control your cravings. Are you ready to take your weight loss goals to the next level? Discover Ion Fast today. Visit www.ionfast.com to learn more and start your journey to a healthier and fitter you. Always consult a healthcare professional before trying any new supplement.
Holla at you.